This week on the Four Rivers Ag Report. First, are you paranoid? Or is somebody really watching what you're doing in the field? Secondly, what does the cottage farm industry and ion diabetes have to do with each other? And thirdly, what was a mile high, bitter cold, and things got really interesting when it left? Well, we'll answer those very odd questions and much more on the Four Rivers Ag Report. Hi, and welcome to the Four Rivers Ag Report. I'm Fred Peralta. Is it me or has the weather gotten ugly lately? Okay, ugly may be a relative term. I don't even want to think about February, but October? For our farming friends, most of what can be brought in has been by now, with just a few fields left to go, and I think those will be history as soon as we have a nice day or two to dry off. But the rainy day did have some benefits. It allowed us to talk to someone we've been wanting to talk to for quite a while, Farm Week crop watcher and local farmer, Todd Easton. Thanks for being here today, Todd.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's start out with the obvious question. You know, you were out all season long. You've seen everything. You worked through everything.
Yeah.
What was the growing season like from your perspective?
Well, of course, you learn in farming after a few short years that every year is different. There's nothing alike, and this year was another unique and challenging year, like they all are. Mm-hmm. This year, we started out in the spring with. It seemed like things were kind of fitting to be ideal. We had a little first shot in April of planting corn, and everything was looking good. And then we got rain for a month.
So everybody got ready, set, and sit.
Yes.
Okay. So you got, and it seemed to me like there was a big discrepancy. Some guys got in early and got a lot of stuff planted. Then they had to sit around and wait for beans, and or they got half their corn planted and then they had to sit and wait. Was that what happened to you?
Yeah, it was quite a struggle with that first April planting because some producers went ahead and went in with a few hundred acres, and some others like myself, they promised rain and wet conditions. That's never a good place to put a corn seed, so we held back. Yeah. And
they don't build little snorkels for corn seed.
And then we ended up planting in May, and and especially in the spring, a lot of us thought, well, boy, if we'd have known that, we'd have went in a lot harder. Mm-hmm. Even though that first generation of crop did have a struggle to a start, it wasn't terrible. Mm-hmm. And I guess basically to sum up the year as far as the planting windows go, both groups of crop, the April and the May planted corn, had a different list of adversities and advantages, and we basically ended up at the same result. I mean, I didn't see much different yields. I custom harvested some April planted corn, mm-hmm. and I heard yields from other farmers, and we basically came to the same place,
yeah. So,
which was a little bit below average, but it could have been much worse.
I think the yields are slightly down over last year's, but still up over what they expected.
Yeah, according to the USDA, I think
mm-hmm.
they're over what they expected, but they may find that they want to revise that later on. From what I'm seeing in the fields, and I'm hearing from even in a wide area.
Yeah. So what are the yields you've seen?
A lot of the yields I've seen we got above the 150 mark mm-hmm. typically on corn, which is really good. I mean, the ideal is 200, but 150 is gonna make it to where you make you don't lose the farm that year.
What about beans?
Soybeans were surprisingly good. We were over the 50 bushel mark on beans for the most part, and the soybean crop tapered off. It seemed like we planted as fast as we could. Everybody did, but it seems like the later planted just kind of went down to the high 40s.
As dry as the summer was, how did that affect? Did you see a difference in yields on that?
Oh yes. Basically, as we come through, we had a perfect June, and the corn crop was growing, and the beans were growing just phenomenally. And we got into July, and everything looked good through the first part of July, and then about the 15th, it just turned off hot and dry.
Yes.
And really, the dry would have been mitigated a lot better if it hadn't been so hot.
Right.
And that really hurt the crop and put it in defense mode, and it.
Yeah.
And
so
did
you have the same number of ears, but not as much on each ear? Or?
Yeah, the kernel count on the ears was what was greatly reduced. We saw a lot of tip back. Mm-hmm. The ears set to be pretty big around, and they set to have a good kernel depth or length, but it just didn't materialize on the tips in a lot of places.
Okay. Well, how much variation did you see in the county that you looked at?
Quite a bit. It
And you
seems
probably
like
saw variation within field to field.
field to field variation was big. Soil type, I saw that. The soil type variation was pretty big. Some of the practices, we grow some corn on corn, and that really seemed to struggle this year for different reasons, and everybody's still trying to figure that one out.
So okay. So part of your job as a crop watcher, I imagine, you don't just look at your field. You don't just drive your truck up and down the road and looking out. How do you get your information?
As the Coles County crop watcher, I strive to get the whole picture. I don't want to get a farm-specific picture. You know, nobody's probably completely interested in what's going on my farm, except my landowners. Maybe.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, no, I try to look around. I talk with other producers quite a bit. I know a lot of people. And I try to get into the corners of the county that I don't necessarily farm in and roam in all the time. And I also find a lot of help from the elevator managers and the agronomists because everybody talks to them.
You drink a lot of coffee, I bet.
Yeah, well, yeah, a little bit.
So what are some, so this season's pretty much wrapped up. I mean, I think we're at 70% or so in statewide. I imagine we're a little bit higher than that around here.
In Coles County, I can't find a bean field that's still standing, and the cornfields are very few. I'd say we're in at least the last 20% of corn.
Okay, so the guys are done. They're sitting in there. They're cleaning up their equipment. They're getting stuff ready, to put away. A few maybe packing up to take a trip down south. But what are guys thinking about? What is this season? Has this season taught them anything? Can we take any lessons away from it?
First off, we're still very busy. I think everybody is. Now that the combines are pretty much parked, we've now got our tractors doing tillage. Some of us are spreading fertilizer. Yeah, generally whoever does that, or a lot of them, they're getting ready for fertilizer application. We're doing fertilizer application and just all kinds of preparations.
So they're still
year.
busy.
Oh yeah, through the till you can't drive into a field, somebody's going to be doing something.
Yeah. Okay. So what are they thinking about next year?
Is
anybody, first of all, is anybody thinking about next year? And if they
you're thinking about next year as you drive through the field in the combine. You're thinking about next year last summer.
Yeah.
As always, but
what's driving your thought processes?
Well, just what you see in the field, basically. But right now, we've just we're fresh off the combine, basically. So it's just all this information, you're trying to get it narrowed up. What is the usable information?
Right. What's spam?
Yeah, exactly. So right now, the decisions aren't being made. We're in analysis mode. And if I had to throw a guess out, though, I think you'll see a little bit less corn on corn next year. Yeah. Just some reactions. You always get general reaction from the year, even though you should always look at 4 or 5 years and get a big picture idea. But still,
Well, okay, tell me a little bit about your farm. How long have you been farming?
Since I was a kid, I've been hanging around that place. It's Terrydale Farms was started by my grandfather in 1950. He's done very well, and we have a very nice operation. Excellent. I'm walking into a great operation.
A good operation.
Yeah.
Well, so a long-term family-owned farm.
Yeah, long-term family-owned.
So how did you get involved with Farm Week and crop watching?
My predecessor, John Hurst, had decided that because of what he was doing and other things, that he was too busy to do it anymore. And they approached me at the Farm Bureau winter supper, membership supper. And
so, what's it like to write? I mean, you sit there with a pad of paper in the combine, or what do you do?
No, I try to keep it all in my head, so it might not be 100% accurate at times. But and that's one of the great things I like about Crop Watcher is it's really made me observe and observe everything. And you just kind of observe, you take notes, you think about it a little bit, and I sit down on a particular evening in the week, and they have us, and I put about an hour or two and write it. And
what I like about it is you get a really sense of the variation within the state. So
yeah, because the Crop Watcher involves I think about 30 people from different parts of the state. And it's always interesting to read the whole page. I go through it and read what everybody else is saying. And
Well, Todd, I want to thank you for being here, and keep your eye on the crop. We'll have you back again soon.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Monica Becker. As you heard earlier, harvest is just about completed around here. However, statewide, we're not quite as far along. The corn harvest is reported as 64% complete as compared to 49% this time last year. Beans are also farther along. 73% of soybeans are in compared to 50% last year. And with corn in, the U.S. government projects that corn exports will be at an all-time low. The price of corn is high enough to do two things on the world stage. Todd Gleason has more on why the U.S. government thinks that exports of the commodity will be down sharply over the next 12 months.
The World Agricultural Outlook Board, it's an agency of the USDA, compiles data on corn production around the globe. Now, it uses this data, in part, to predict how many bushels of corn will be exported from this nation. It's a number that has dropped substantially.
The USDA dropped both corn and soybean export projections. They're now at, particularly in corn, historically very low levels, certainly reflecting an expectation of weaker economic growth around the world in the upcoming marketing year and recovery of production in other areas.
Corn exports are projected to be down nearly 13% year over year at just 1.6 billion bushels. It is expensive in today's global economy to buy corn from the United States, and if a nation cannot buy cheap corn from the U.S., then it might look to another supplier. And the competition has been ramping up production.
World corn production is expected to increase almost 250 million bushels more in this report than just a month ago. And at the margin, when you're talking about a U.S. ending stocks estimate someplace, in that neighborhood of 800 or 900 million bushels, that's a fairly significant jump in the total availability of corn around the world.
Three nations have stepped up corn production. Ukraine, Russia, and some of the former Soviet states, and China account for all of the increase in world corn production. Now, China is right now harvesting a record-sized corn crop. It's the second largest on the planet, but still only half of what the U.S. produces. It's also probably not enough. China may need to source corn from somewhere else on the globe. It could be from the U.S., but then again, maybe not. We're University of Illinois Extension. I'm Todd Gleason.
It's tough enough being a farmer this year, and here's one more thing to be worried about. Be careful around your grain bins. A Purdue Extension expert warns that in years like this, when growers may have planted late and harvested early, the low-quality grain may translate into spending more time in and around bins to check temperature and moisture content. The more time spent in bins leads to a greater potential for entrapment. They suggest never working alone or entering the grain bins while the augers are running. Now, from farm safety to on-the-road safety, the Illinois Department of Transportation recently announced several area high schools to be participating in the Operation Teen Safe Driving Program. Teen Safe Driving programs have been shown to reduce the number of teen motor vehicle fatalities and have led to sweeping changes in the Illinois driving teen laws. All the selected schools will receive $2,000 in grant funding to develop and implement a peer-to-peer based program. The nearby schools include Arcola, Cerro Gordo, DeLand Weldon, Meridian, Shelbyville, and Tuscola. Well, that's it for this week. I'm Monica Becker. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, Monica. On the Four Rivers Ag Report, we're always looking for news that is of interest to local agriculture and rural communities. Every week we scour all the local papers, the state and national websites, and we talk to lots and lots and lots of people every day looking for information that will help and or entertain you. There's one more way we can find out the latest news, trends, topics, and events that are part of your life. You can tell us. We'd love to hear from you about what's going on in your town, on your farm, or even on your neighbor's farm. If you got a topic you'd like us to talk about, let us know. I probably don't know the answer, but I probably know people who do. So please, let us know what's happening. You can call us at 217-581-7245. You can email us at weiu@weiu.net. We're on Facebook at WEIU TV, Public Broadcast Station. And if you tweet, we're on Twitter at WEIU1. With me now is Lynette Mensa, Nutrition and Wellness Educator for the Extension Office. Lynette, I'd like to welcome you to the Four Rivers Ag Report for what I'm sure will be the first of many visits. Now, we have a bit of news to talk about, but first, what does the Wellness and Nutrition Educator do?
Okay. Well, first of all, I am a nutrition and wellness educator, University of Illinois Extension. And what I do is provide nutrition and food safety related education to the communities within a targeted range and a targeted audience.
So how does that fall within the Extension's mandate?
Well, Extension's mandate is basically outreach, and outreach to many types of populations.
And nutrition and wellness is a big issue in rural communities,
Nutrition
isn't it?
and wellness is a big issue in many communities.
So what are some of the programs that you are involved with and you hope people get involved with around here?
Well, one of where I'm involved with many programs, but sorry.
Yeah, you're busy girl.
But anyway, nutrition and wellness, pretty much some of the programs include Eye on Diabetes. Eye on Diabetes is actually a cooking school.
Okay.
And it's a cooking school where we talk to individuals about how to prevent and control diabetes if they have it.
So diabetes is a big problem around here, right?
Diabetes is very big all over the country,
So what
including
sort
Illinois.
of ways do you work with them to try and learn to cook properly?
Well, we have, like the Eye on Diabetes is 4 sessions. Each session is 2.5 to 3 hours.
Okay, so it's extensive.
It's extensive and it's hands-on. There's demonstration. We try to get the audience involved as much as we possibly can.
So when is this program taking place and where is it taking place in our area?
Well, right now, I have contacted the Lifespan Center in
Okay.
Charleston, and they have agreed to allow me to do the program
Oh,
there.
excellent, excellent.
And I believe the dates are going to be I think it's the
7th, I think you told me?
7th, 8th, 14th, and 15th
Those are
of
the dates
December.
of December.
Yes, of
so
December.
you have to make it through the
Yes.
Thanksgiving, but then after
Right.
that, you can learn how to
Right.
cook to make sure if you have diabetes, it helps control it.
Right.
And if you don't have diabetes, and that's the way we want it, to
Right.
avoid.
To avoid and to prevent
Right.
diabetes.
What are some of the other type of programs?
The other kinds of programs, we do food safety programs. One is the Serve It Safely program.
Okay.
And this is for people who are not certified with the Illinois Department of Public Health, but
Okay.
who may do volunteer work or do something where they're serving the public, but not in a capacity where they're earning money for what they're selling.
Okay.
There's another one, the 15-hour
Oh,
food
okay.
safety sanitation course. I'm certified to teach that, as well as the 5-hour refresher course that is required when food service managers need to recertify.
Okay, so I mean a lot of public health safety sorts of
Right.
refresher, that sort of thing.
Right.
Speaking of public health and safety, there's something else that's going on. The news that we want to talk about is something that I didn't think about until I actually saw this bill. What is the cottage farm industry and why are we talking about them?
Well, the cottage farm industry has been around for quite a long time. In many states, I think Illinois has recently decided it's going to put some regulations in place
Okay.
to make sure that anything that is sold at a farmer's market is something that is safe.
Okay.
And what it basically is doing is and a cottage food operation is basically a person who is preparing food in their home
Okay.
and taking it to farmers markets in
Okay.
particular.
So it's
and
the
selling
brownies
it.
and it's cookies, it's the breads, it's that sort of thing.
It's the brownies, it's the cookies, it's the breads, but it's also the jams and the jellies
Oh,
and,
okay.
and preserved food
Okay.
as well. And what the cottage farm industry bill,
Mm-hmm.
or not bill, but it's a law now, what it hopes to do is to regulate the kinds of foods that are being sold to the public
Okay.
for consumption, and they want to make sure it's something that's safe.
Okay.
Okay, so there are some restrictions. There's food that they can sell, and there are restrictions on some foods that they cannot.
Well, excellent, excellent. So, with all of this, the wellness, nutrition, the cottage food industry, the eye on diabetes, and the healthy heart program, if people are interested, and I know people should be interested and are interested, where could I get more information?
Well, my office is located in Macon County. I'm my number in Macon. It's at Macon County Extension. I work there. I have 8 counties actually, so my office is in Macon.
So your office is in your car, actually.
Yeah, basically
Okay.
my office is in my car, but my office is in the Macon County Extension Unit, and my phone number is 217-877-6042 if anyone would like to call.
Okay. We also have the numbers and the extension website extension for the extension office here. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Okay, it was a pleasure.
On our first broadcast of the Four Rivers Ag Report, I mentioned how this area was blessed with good people and good soil. I also mentioned another blessing, the last glacier to visit North America. It's hard to imagine now, but right around Route 16, several thousand years ago, a mile-high solid wall of ice was sitting just to the north. It affected this area in 1,000 ways, pushing the soil around and flattening what is now the farmland to the north to creating rivers and streams from its runoff. This week, Cameron Craig looks at this glacier and how it shaped the land we lived in on Under the Four Rivers Sky.
As a child during one of my family's excursions through Illinois, I remember yelling from the back seat, "Dad, why is it so flat and boring here?" My father, a farmer from Indiana, answered, "Thousands of years ago, glaciers towered above the landscape and shaped the land we see today. The new landscape, as old as 15,000 years, set the foundation of agriculture here in central Illinois and the Midwest."
Glacial formation is dependent upon the Earth's climate shifting from hot to extremely cold. 4 glacial periods have occurred recently over the last 650,000 years, and there is evidence that the cycle of glacial formation has occurred for more than 2 million years.
The glacier, the ice, forms as a result of a change in Earth's climate. We're not exactly sure why the climate changes from hot to cold, but it has done that periodically over the last 2 million years and before that too. So what happens is the temperatures go down, the snow and ice that was stored over a winter time doesn't quite melt back as far as it had the year before, and this goes on for a period of a couple thousand years. And before you know it, the snow line that usually melts back in North America up to Hudson Bay, well, it's down in Canada and a little bit below that, as evidenced by past glaciations over the last 2 million years.
2 glacial periods modified the Illinoisan landscape within the last 300,000 years. The first was the Illinoisan glaciation that occurred between 300,000 to 175,000 years before present. And the second was the Wisconsin glaciation between 75,000 to 15,000 years before present.
The last glaciers that came through the area came down in a lobe that came through Wisconsin and Michigan. And this glacier episode is called the Wisconsin glaciation, and it covers basically the northeast quarter of the state. There was another glacier glacial episode previous to that that did cover almost all of the state. The one that covered nearly all the state was called the Illinoisan glacial episode, and it went all the way down to the Shawnee Hills and covered everything but just a fragment on the west side of the state and on the northwest side of the state.
Each glaciation provided a certain soil makeup that helped to establish a foundation for agriculture in this area. The quality of the soil is dependent upon the age of the glacial period.
In central Illinois, you have 2 different glacial ages exposed at the surface. You have the Wisconsin glacier deposits, which are those that are probably less than 15,000 years old in most places. And these are found in a line roughly going from Terre Haute over to Decatur, and and then about straight north. So that northeast segment of the state is covered by these young glacial deposits. The remainder of the state is covered by glacial deposits that have been sitting there for at least 175,000 years. So those that have been sitting around longer have been more weathered, and the minerals that provide nutrients to the soil have been more leached from the deposits, and also more clay has been left behind. So the older deposits, which cover about 2/3 of the state or so, are poor quality soils.
Some might continue to say that central Illinois is flat and boring, but without the Earth's shifting climate, we might have ended up doing something other than agriculture. That's it for me this week. Protect our home and always say thank you to our farmers.
Now it's homecoming weekend at Eastern Illinois University, and I hope everyone takes some time out to participate in the events, visit with your old friends, and why not go to the game? I'll be there. I'll be the one wearing blue. Well, that's it for this week. Work hard, be careful, and enjoy the sunsets. I'm Fred Peralta, and thanks for watching the Four Rivers Ag Report.